Good morning or good afternoon, whichever time you're watching this. My name is Courtney Wilson. This is my professional speech for PCM 340 with Professor Raymond at Siena Heights University. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about credit scores. We're kind of going to explore the basics of a credit score, the ins and outs of a credit score, why you should care about your credit score, what your credit score is used for, those types of things. First, a little bit of background about myself. I work at a credit union. I've worked there for about 1.5 years now. I never thought that I would end up in financial industry type of work, but I kind of landed there and I'm kind of like it. I kind of love it actually. I really like to help people. In my past job, I worked at a community college and I worked in the recruitment department. So I was talking to prospective students, always communicating with people. And I really just like people and I like to be around them. I like to help them. So working with people at the credit union, helping them reach their financial goals is something that I've really come to like, and I can say that I enjoy my job. I really strongly believe that credit score education is kind of a lost art. I deal with a lot of people at my credit union that have poor credit, and it's honestly frustrating sometimes because I have to deny a lot of loans, and I don't like to tell people no, but that's just the reality of it, that sometimes we just can't loan people money because their credit score and their credit report pretty much shows that they can't pay their bills is really what it comes down to. I know that sounds harsh, but that's true. Pretty much what a credit score is, it's a numerical expression based on an analysis of a person's credit files. Lenders use credit scores to determine who qualifies for a loan, at what interest rate, and the credit limits. So anything as far as like a personal loan, an auto loan, a mortgage, a home equity loan, anything that you need to borrow money for, they're going to look at your credit score. A lot of places like insurance, jobs look at credit reports just to make sure there's no like charge-offs or bad things on there, civil judgments. All that stuff shows up on your credit report. So we're going to go ahead and get started a little bit. I'm going to give you some background about my credit. I think that's important to kind of throw a personal thing in there about credit scores. When I was in high school, we didn't have what some people call life experience class, which I wish we would have had. They teach how to do taxes, credit score education, how to make a budget, how to save money. Luckily, I had parents who taught me these things. But I still got into some trouble with credit cards when I was 18, 19 years old, like most people do. I've since taken care of that, but sometimes it follows people around forever. I mean, if you have a charged off credit card on your credit report, it's usually going to stay on there for 7 years, and it's not a good thing. I think that young people don't understand how credit cards work, how important it is to establish good credit, things like that. My first point that I'm going to make is, why should you care what's on your credit report? Like I just said, if you ever want to buy a car, if you ever want to buy a house, if you ever want to go on a vacation and you need to borrow money, you don't want to be stuck paying 20% interest on a car, because the second you buy that car, you're going to be upside down in a loan. So it's awful when that happens, but people do it because you have to have a car to make it to work. You have to have a car to make it from point A to point B. So those places that are 20-30% interest, buy here, pay here type of places I think should be illegal. But that's how those people make their money. A good credit history will also help you get lower interest rates on future loans. Like I said, if you ever want to buy a house, a lot of times if you don't have a credit score over 640, you're going to get denied for a mortgage. That's how it is at our credit union. You have to have a score over 640, which is considered fair credit. But most of the people that I deal with at my credit union, it's very few and far between that I see a 640 walk in the door. They're usually in the 400s and the 500s. In our area, in our demographic, we are actually a little on the lower middle class side. There's a lot of people that live paycheck to paycheck and they don't have savings, they don't have money, and they rely on loans, and sometimes they're short on money a month and they have to choose between paying their car payment, their credit cards, and their mortgage, and most every single time they're going to pay for their house because they don't want to lose their house. At our credit union, we also pull credit reports to determine who qualifies for a checking account. A lot of times, I can only approve someone for a savings account to start out with. They either have multiple charge-offs, they owe another bank money. It can be really tough sometimes when I have to sit there and tell somebody who wants a checking account, I'm sorry, I can't give you a checking account right now. I need to start you out with a savings account, see how you do, and go from there. And these are usually grown adults, and I don't think they've ever had the support or the education about credit, about how to pay your bills, about how to make a budget. They just don't know, is pretty much what it comes down to. The information on the credit report is yours, so that means it's only going to affect you. Unless you're married and you're applying for joint credit, things like that, they're going to take both into consideration. But 9 times out of 10, it's only going to affect you. Make sure that you check your credit report daily. Well, not daily. Monthly is usually what I suggest. You can use Credit Karma. That's what I use. It is pretty... Hold on one second. It's pretty spot on, I should say. There's 3 different credit bureaus. There's Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Credit Karma only uses Equifax and TransUnion. At my credit union, we pull from Experian, so that Experian score is not going to be on Credit Karma. But it will kind of give you an idea. It'll tell you what credit cards you have out there, what loans you have out there, things like that. It'll give you a kind of spot on credit score. It might be a little different if you walk into a bank or financial institution or credit union and they pull your credit. It's not going to be the same as your Credit Karma score. But it'll kind of give you an idea, and it helps to check it just to make sure that someone hasn't snagged your social security number or anything like that and is opening credit in your name. I've had that happen before. I pull someone's credit when they are applying for a loan and they're like, that's not mine. I'm like, ugh. So we gotta kind of investigate that. They have to contact the credit bureaus. It's a huge mess. So I do suggest Credit Karma or something like that. You are entitled to 1 free credit report per year from your financial institution, or most of them. I know we offer that at my credit union. And it kind of gives you an idea of where you're at. I always tell young people to kind of get signed up with Credit Karma and maybe start them out with a small credit card and teach them good habits of credit spending, so they aren't just racking up credit card debt when they're 18 and they don't have a job, or they don't have a good paying job to pay it back, because most of the time they're in college and they're focusing on school. There's different type of credit. Credit can be convenient and effective. When you use credit responsibly, you're building your credit history and your purchasing power. So when you're using your credit and you're paying your bills and paying off the balance each month, you're showing future lenders and credit card companies that, hey, yeah, she can pay her bills, so let's give her more credit. Using credit wisely will help you get lower interest rates and additional credit in the future. Like I said, there's different types of credits. There's installment credit, revolving credit, secured credit, and unsecured credit. Installment credit is the type of credit that usually is a loan set with a specific monthly payment, and interest is determined at the beginning of the loan and part of every monthly payment. So those would include car loans, home loans, student loans, usually the ones that are collateralized. So if you have a mortgage, it's obviously collateralized by your home, which means if you don't pay your mortgage, the bank can come and take your home. If you don't pay your car payment, the repo man's going to come take your car, things like that. There's revolving credit. That's the type of credit that has a set limit that you can borrow. As you pay the loan back, it becomes available to you again. You can pay it off in full or in smaller payments. If you do not pay it in full, then you'll pay interest on the remaining balances. Make sure you understand interest rate on these loans. They're usually very high. Example, credit cards, gas cards, department store cards like Kohl's, Best Buy, things like that. Usually with credit cards, you're looking at 24-26% interest, maybe a little lower if it's a good credit card and you have good credit, but you're looking at maybe 15-16% interest. That's why you hear a lot of people say if you are using a credit card to pay it off every month. A lot of people use credit cards because they're a little more secure than debit cards. But I would suggest paying credit card balances off each month and try not to carry them over each month because you're going to be paying a lot of money in interest depending on your balance. Secured credit. This is the type of credit that requires you to provide something of value to secure the loan. You may put it up property such as furniture, car, home, kind of like the installment credit. We kind of already went over that. Unsecured credit is kind of I think the second most popular type of credit. More people refer to it as personal loans. It has no collateral. So you're promising to pay your lender back based on your signature. These are high risk kind of default loans because there's nothing that the bank or the credit card company can come take. There's nothing that you've put up for collateral. In turn, that usually means higher interest on the loan. Establishing good credit history. We've already kind of went over this, but I just want to touch on it at the end of this speech. Try to, if you have kids and they're not being taught it in school, try to educate them on credit. Try to educate them on homes and how you get a home and how your credit is going to affect your future self. If you have a kid going to college soon, college kids are usually the biggest target for credit card companies. I don't want to say prey on college kids, but they kind of do. Just make sure that you let your child know. Don't sign up for a bunch of credit cards. It's just going to cause a mess. You're going to default. They're going to be charged off. And the second that your kid graduates from college and gets a job and gets out in the real world, and then they're like, oh shoot, I can't get a car loan without a cosigner because my credit score is a 450. A little bit about bankruptcies, I just want to touch on this at the end, is a lot of people look at bankruptcies differently. In my personal opinion, I don't think they're a good thing. I don't think it's something that you want to just do when you just want to give up and throw your hands up. I think there's 3 major life events that can warrant bankruptcy: a death of a spouse or a death in the family, a major illness, or a divorce. Sometimes you hear people say, oh, you're young, just set the reset button, file for bankruptcy. It stays on your credit for 7 years. It causes issues. I'm not saying that anyone that's ever filed for bankruptcy, you're a bad person, because you're not. But I see it a lot. And most of the time, the reason is death of a spouse. They had a major medical problem. They had an illness where they were off work for multiple years, or a divorce. And those are the things that can warrant credit scores. So in closing, the basic things to remember about credit scores is make sure that you are paying your bills every month. Make sure you establish a good relationship with your credit union or your bank so you can go to them if you have issues with your credit. If you need to borrow money, don't try to skip bills. I know that things come up and life events happen, but if you could really, I always tell people to try to have $1,000 saved up in a savings account for an emergency fund. You never know when that car is going to break down, or the kid's going to need this, or someone gets sick and they're going to be off work. So the basic thing to remember about is just to make sure you're making your payments, and you will have a good credit score. Thank you.